"I'm pregnant," my sister whispered, her hands trembling, her mascara smudged like black rivers down her cheeks. It was late, almost midnight. The kitchen light buzzed above us, the only sound besides the steady tick of the clock on the wall. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her, hunched over the table, her belly not yet showing but her secret already weighing heavy on both of us. I froze, the glass of water slipping from my hand and shattering against the tile floor. My heart pounded in my ears as her words replayed. "Pregnant. Again. Please don't look at me like that," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I had no one else to tell. I can't do this alone." And in that moment I wanted to scream. Not because she was pregnant, but because this wasn't the first time, or the second, or the third. This was the 5th time, and every single one of those children had come into my life like a storm I didn't ask for. "You promised me," I hissed through clenched teeth, gripping the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. "You swore the last time would be the last." Her silence was louder than any confession. I had raised her kids, changed their diapers, sat in parent-teacher meetings, worked double shifts at the diner so they'd have Christmas presents. And she, my older sister, Amanda, kept disappearing, leaving me with responsibilities that weren't mine. This time, though, something inside me snapped. A fire burned in my chest, hotter than grief, sharper than anger. I leaned forward, staring her straight in the eyes. "I'm done," I said, my voice steady, but deadly cold. "This child, this one's not my responsibility. Do you hear me, Amanda? Not this time." She opened her mouth to speak, but before the words could form, the front door slammed open. And standing there, in the shadows of the doorway, was the man I least expected to see. "My name is Emily Parker, and I never asked to become the mother of children who weren't mine. I was only 26, but life had already stolen away the dreams I once had: college, travel, maybe my own family one day. Instead, my reality was babysitting, scrubbing floors, working nights at Lou's Diner, and collapsing into bed with exhaustion while my sister drifted through life like a ghost." Amanda was 30, but she never acted her age. She lived in cycles: meet a man, fall in love, get pregnant, and then vanish. Sometimes for months, sometimes for years. And every time, the same thing happened. I became the mother to her children. "Emily, you're stronger than me," she once told me, her voice laced with guilt but her eyes defiant. "The kids are better off with you anyway." Better off with me? Maybe. But what about me? What about my life, my choices, my right to be free? Still, I stayed. Because the kids weren't just hers. They were mine in every way that mattered. Little faces that looked to me for everything. Innocent voices calling me mama when they were too young to know better. And I couldn't let them down. But now, with this new pregnancy, the weight was too much. My patience had run dry. And what made it worse? Amanda didn't even know who the father was this time. 2 weeks before that night, everything seemed fragile but steady. I'd just finished a grueling shift at the diner when I walked home, the city streets humming with traffic, the smell of fried food clinging to my hair. At home, the kids were sprawled across the couch watching cartoons. "Emmy, can we have pizza tonight?" 8-year-old Caleb asked, his big brown eyes full of hope. I laughed, dropping my purse on the counter. "Pizza? Do I look like I got a money tree in my pocket?" They groaned in unison, but I gave in anyway. I always gave in. Because despite everything, I loved them. Maybe too much. That night, after they were asleep, Amanda slipped back into the apartment. She looked rough, clothes wrinkled, hair tangled, a faint smell of alcohol trailing behind her. "You've been gone 3 days," I said quietly, folding laundry at the table. "Don't start," she muttered, avoiding my gaze. But I couldn't stop. "Amanda, these are your kids. They need you. I can't keep doing this alone." She waved her hand like I was swatting at smoke. "You're always so dramatic. I'll get it together. I promise." Promises. Empty, broken, useless promises. Back in the present, as she whispered about the new baby, my world tilted. And when that front door swung open, the air froze in my lungs. The man in the doorway was Derek Miller, my ex. The only man I had ever truly loved. The one who had left me shattered 3 years ago after a betrayal I thought I'd never recover from. And now he was standing in my sister's doorway. "Amanda," he said softly, his eyes darting from her to me. "We need to talk." The room spun. My heart stopped. I turned to my sister, my voice breaking. "Please, please tell me he's not the father." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence was my death sentence. The silence in the room was unbearable. The kind that makes your chest heavy and your ears ring. Derek stood there, hands stuffed in his jacket pockets, his eyes flicking nervously between me and Amanda. His presence alone felt like a knife reopening an old wound I had stitched shut with years of effort. I started, my voice sharp and trembling. "What the hell are you doing here, Derek?" He looked guilty, almost ashamed. But not enough. Never enough. "I didn't plan for it to happen," he muttered, taking a cautious step forward. "Amanda and it just..." "Don't," I snapped, my voice cracking. "Don't you dare stand there and try to feed me excuses." Amanda bit her lip, tears streaming down her face. "Emily, I didn't mean to." "You didn't mean to?" I laughed bitterly, my chest burning. "You never mean to, Amanda. That's your whole life. You stumble through chaos, and I'm the one left to pick up the pieces. But this, sleeping with my ex." Her sobs grew louder, but all I could see was betrayal painted across her face. The betrayal wasn't just hers. It was his too. Derek, the man who once swore I was his forever. Derek, the man who left me because he wasn't ready for a family. And now, he had crawled back into my sister's bed. The irony was cruel. "I didn't want you to find out like this," Derek said quietly. "But I want to be here for the baby." The baby. My knees nearly buckled. So it was true. Derek wasn't just a ghost from my past. He was the father of my sister's 5th child. I felt the world close in, pressing against my ribs, suffocating me. For years, I had carried her children on my shoulders, sacrificing everything. And now she had taken from me the only thing I once held sacred: love. I stormed past him, grabbing my coat from the rack. "You two deserve each other," I spat, choking on tears. "But don't think for a second I'm raising this one. I'm done saving you, Amanda. I'm done saving all of you." I shoved the door open, the cold night air slapping me across the face, and ran until the city lights blurred through my tears. I ended up at the riverfront, the one place that always gave me peace. The water shimmered under the moonlight, calm and endless, while I was anything but. I sat on a bench, my hands trembling, my mind a storm of anger, grief, and something darker, something sharper. Revenge. The word pulsed in my chest like a heartbeat. For years I had carried the burden, played the good sister, the selfless aunt. But this betrayal demanded something else. It demanded justice. I thought back to every sacrifice, the missed dates, the nights I cried myself to sleep from exhaustion, the countless times Amanda disappeared while I stayed behind, holding everything together. And now she had the audacity to betray me with him. They thought I would crumble. They thought I would keep cleaning up their mess. Not this time. The next morning, I went to work at Lou's Diner, plastering on a fake smile as I poured coffee and scribbled orders. But inside, I was boiling. Every clink of dishes, every hum of conversation, it all blurred into background noise as I plotted. "Rough night," my coworker, Maria, asked, eyeing the dark circles under my eyes. I forced a laugh. "You could say that." Maria didn't push. She never did. But as I cleared tables and refilled mugs, my plan started taking shape. If Amanda wanted to keep bringing kids into the world without consequences, maybe it was time she finally faced them. And Derek? He had already destroyed me once. I wouldn't let him waltz into my family and destroy me again. They thought they had power. But the truth? I knew their secrets. I had leverage. That night, I returned to the apartment. The kids were asleep, their tiny bodies curled under blankets, innocent and unaware of the storm brewing in the next room. Amanda sat at the table, her face pale and puffy from crying. Derek was gone. She whispered as I walked in. Please don't hate me. I didn't mean. You keep saying that. I interrupted, my voice calm, steady, too calm. But you always mean it. You chose him, Amanda. You chose this. She buried her face in her hands, but I didn't flinch. Not this time. You're on your own now, I continued. The kids, the baby, all of it, it's your responsibility, not mine. If you can't handle that, then maybe the world should see the truth about you. Her head shot up, eyes wide with fear. What do you mean? I leaned in, lowering my voice. I know things, Amanda. Things you wouldn't want anyone else to know. About the fathers of your kids. About what you did to keep them from finding out. You think I didn't notice the lies? The forged papers? The phone calls you made behind closed doors? Her lips trembled. Emily, please. Don't. But I just smiled, a cold, hard smile. Try me. As I turned to leave the room, her phone buzzed on the table. She reached for it nervously, but not before I caught a glimpse of the screen. It wasn't Derek. It was a message from someone else. A name I hadn't seen in years. Dad. And the words on the screen made my blood run cold. We need to talk about what you told me before Emily finds out. My heart stopped. What secret was Amanda hiding with him? The phone buzzed again in Amanda's trembling hands. Her eyes darted to me, wide with fear, like a child caught stealing candy. What did you tell him? I demanded, my voice low and dangerous. Amanda pressed the phone to her chest, shaking her head. It's nothing. Just family stuff. Family stuff. I laughed bitterly. The man who walked out on us 15 years ago suddenly cares about family stuff? Try again. Her silence told me everything. There was a secret here, one buried so deep that even I, who knew every ugly truth about her, had been kept in the dark. Answer me, I hissed, stepping closer. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the phone rang. The name Dad flashed across the screen. I snatched it from her hands before she could react and pressed accept. Emily, a voice croaked on the other end. Rough. Uneasy. Familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. Yeah, I said coldly. It's me. Now tell me, what the hell did Amanda tell you? There was a pause, then a slow, shaky breath. She told me the truth, he said finally. The truth about you. My blood ran cold. The world tilted. My father, who had left us when I was 11, who had vanished without a word, was now back, speaking in riddles that made no sense. What truth? I demanded, but he hung up before I got an answer. I lowered the phone, my hands trembling. Amanda's face was pale, guilt carved into every line. You told him something about me? I whispered. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Emily, I didn't mean. Stop saying you didn't mean to. I screamed, slamming my hand on the table so hard the kids stirred in the other room. My voice dropped to a harsh whisper. What did you tell him, Amanda? She swallowed hard, her lips quivering. I can't not now. That was it. The last thread of patience inside me snapped. Fine, I spat, grabbing my jacket. If you won't tell me, I'll find out myself. But remember this, you've crossed a line you can't come back from. Her sobs followed me out the door, but I didn't look back. The next day, I drove 3 hours north to find him. I hadn't seen my father in over a decade, but I remembered enough. The way he always smelled like cigarettes and cheap whiskey, the way his fists did more talking than his mouth, the way he disappeared the night Mom finally told him to leave. I tracked him to a shabby apartment building in Cleveland, paint peeling from the walls, broken mailboxes lining the entrance. My stomach twisted as I climbed the stairs, every step heavy with old memories I wished I could bury. I knocked on the door. It creaked open, and there he was. Older, thinner, but the same hard eyes. Emily, he said, almost like a sigh. I wondered when you'd come. I shoved past him, anger boiling in my veins. Cut the act. What did Amanda tell you? He lit a cigarette, the smoke curling around his face. She told me enough. Enough to know you've been lying all these years. My jaw clenched. Lying about what? He took a drag, then looked me dead in the eyes. About the kids. I froze. What about them? He smirked, a bitter, twisted smirk that made my stomach churn. They're not hers. They're yours. The room spun. My knees buckled, and I gripped the edge of the table to keep from falling. That's insane, I whispered, shaking my head. They call her their mother. I've been raising them because she abandoned them, not because. But the words caught in my throat, because deep down there had always been things that didn't add up. The paperwork, the hospital visits I was never allowed to attend, the way Amanda deflected every question about their fathers. Liar, I choked out. You're lying. He leaned back, blowing smoke toward the ceiling. Believe what you want, but Amanda said she's tired of carrying your guilt, tired of covering for you, and she's ready to tell the world the truth. My chest tightened, my breath shallow. If this was true, if those kids weren't hers but mine, then everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I staggered toward the door, the floor swaying beneath me. You're just trying to hurt me, I said, my voice shaking. That's all you've ever done. But his final words followed me out like a curse. She's already told Derek. I drove back home in a daze, my mind racing, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Was this possible? Could Amanda really have stolen my children, passed them off as her own, and forced me into the role of caretaker without me even knowing the full truth? The pieces didn't fit, but they also did. Too perfectly. By the time I reached the apartment, night had fallen. The lights inside glowed warm against the dark street. For a moment, I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel, trying to catch my breath. Then I went in. Amanda was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. The kids were asleep upstairs. She turned as I entered, her face ghostly pale. Emily, please, I can explain. My voice came out colder than ice. Explain this. Did you steal my kids from me? Her lips trembled. I thought it was best. I lunged forward, grabbing her by the shoulders. They're mine, I screamed, tears streaming down my face. All these years, Amanda, you let me believe I was just their aunt, that I was picking up your mess, when really... A sob ripped through her chest. She nodded. Just once. And that was all I needed. The truth crashed over me like a tidal wave. The betrayal, the manipulation, the years stolen from me, they weren't accidents. They were calculated. Amanda had taken everything from me, and for the first time in my life, I wanted to destroy her. But before I could say another word, there was a knock at the door. Amanda's face drained of color. She stood, shaking, and opened it. Derek walked in. Behind him, holding a folder in his hands, was a man in a suit. I'm here, Derek said, his eyes locking on mine. It's time to settle this once and for all. The man in the suit placed the folder on the table. Legal papers. Custody papers. And Amanda whispered, almost too soft to hear. I told him everything. The folder sat on the table like a loaded gun. My eyes locked on it, my chest tight, my throat dry. What is this? I whispered, though I already knew. Derek slid it toward me, his jaw clenched. Custody papers. For the kids. Amanda told me everything. How you lied, how you manipulated everyone into thinking she was the bad one. The room tilted. I could barely breathe. You're insane. I've raised those kids. Every day, every night. I've sacrificed everything while she ran off with men like you. Emily, Amanda croaked, her face streaked with tears. I only lied because I was protecting you. If people knew the truth back then, they would have taken the kids away. I couldn't let that happen. The truth. I spat, glaring at her. You mean the truth that they're mine? Derek's eyes flickered, uncertainty breaking through his mask for just a moment. If that's true, why would she tell me otherwise? Because she's a liar, I shouted. She's always been a liar, and you're too damn stupid to see it. The man in the suit, her lawyer, cleared his throat. This will all be decided in court. Until then, we'll be filing for temporary custody. My client believes the children's best interest is with their mother. Their mother. The words burned like acid in my ears. No, I whispered, shaking my head.
No.
You're not taking them from me. I snatched the papers off the table and ripped them in half, the sound echoing through the room. You want a war? I said, my voice trembling but fierce.
Fine.
You'll get one. But you should know something, Amanda. I've got nothing left to lose. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and old books. I sat on one side of the aisle, Amanda and Derek on the other. The kids were kept out of it, thank God, but their futures hung in the air like a noose around my neck. Your Honor, Amanda's lawyer began, my client is here to claim her rightful custody of her children. For years, Emily Parker has interfered, presenting herself as the children's guardian, despite not being their mother. I shot to my feet. That's a lie. The judge raised a hand. Miss Parker, you'll have your turn. I sank back into my seat, my heart hammering. Amanda sat tall, hands folded neatly in her lap, wearing a modest dress that made her look like some perfect, struggling mother. She didn't look like the reckless woman who'd vanished for days at a time, who'd shoved her responsibilities on me while she chased men. No, she looked like a saint. And I looked like the angry, unstable sister. Your Honor, my own lawyer began when it was our turn. Emily Parker has been the sole caretaker of these children for the last 8 years. She's provided financially, emotionally, and physically while Amanda was absent. We have school records, neighbors, and even photographs proving that Amanda abandoned her duties. The judge skimmed the documents, his face unreadable. But then Amanda stood. Your Honor, she said, her voice soft, cracking at the edges, I know I've made mistakes. But I am their mother. And every mistake I made was to protect them and to protect Emily. She was too young, too broken. She couldn't raise them back then, so I stepped in. But now she's trying to erase me, and I can't let that happen. Gasps rippled through the room. The judge's eyes flicked to me. Miss Parker, are you the biological mother of these children? My throat closed. The whole courtroom leaned forward, waiting. I wanted to scream yes. I wanted to rip Amanda's mask off and show the world who she really was. But without proof, without DNA tests or birth records, my words would be nothing but noise. I've raised them like a mother, I said finally, my voice breaking. Because she wouldn't. Because she couldn't. The judge nodded slowly. Until further evidence is provided, temporary custody will remain with Amanda Parker. Hearing adjourned. The gavel slammed, and my world collapsed. I stumbled out of the courthouse, the sun blinding, my chest hollow. Derek trailed behind Amanda, his hand brushing hers, the two of them whispering like a happy couple, like victors. And the kids, my kids, would be going home with her. For the first time, I felt powerless. Everything I had fought for, every sacrifice I'd made, it was being stolen from me in broad daylight. But as I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, something shifted inside me. If the system wasn't going to save me, then I would save myself. By any means necessary. That night, I went digging. Through old boxes, old documents, every scrap of paper Amanda had ever hidden from me. I tore through closets, drawers, storage bins, desperate for something, anything that would prove the truth. And then, at the bottom of a box marked taxes, I found it. A hospital wristband.
Small. Pink.
The tag read, Mother, Emily Parker. My hands shook so violently I almost dropped it. It was proof. Proof that at least one of those children was mine. And if one was mine, maybe they all were. I marched into Amanda's apartment the next morning, the wristband clutched in my fist. She was in the kitchen, Derek beside her, the kids eating cereal at the table. I slammed the wristband down. The kids looked up, startled. Amanda's face drained of color. You think you've won? I hissed, my voice shaking with fury. But you forgot one thing, Amanda. I know your lies better than anyone. And now, I can prove them. Her lips trembled. Emily, please not here. Derek picked up the wristband, reading the name, his face twisted in confusion. Emily? What the hell is this? The kids looked from him to me, wide-eyed, waiting. And before Amanda could stop me, the words tore out of my mouth like a scream. I'm not your aunt. I'm your mother. The kitchen fell silent. The kids froze, spoons hanging in midair, cereal soggy in their bowls. Their little faces shifted, confusion, disbelief, then something that stabbed me deeper than any blade. Fear. You're lying, Caleb whispered, his brown eyes wide. Aunt Emily wouldn't lie. I'm not lying, I said, my voice breaking as I looked at him, looked at all of them. I swear to you, I'm telling the truth. I carried you. I gave birth to you. I've been your mother this whole time. Amanda shot up from her chair, her face pale but burning with fury. Emily, stop it.
Don't you dare put this on them.
They're just kids. They don't need your lies. They need the truth. I spat back, slamming my fist on the table. The younger ones started crying, their little bodies trembling. Caleb pushed his chair back and ran upstairs, slamming the door. The others followed, their footsteps heavy, the house shaking with the force of their confusion. The kitchen was left in chaos. The wristband still sat on the table, Derek's hand hovering above it, his face unreadable. Emily, he said finally, his voice low. If this is true, why didn't you ever say anything before? Because I didn't know. My voice cracked. Amanda took everything from me. She convinced me they were hers. She made me believe I was just helping, when really, she was stealing my life. Amanda's eyes blazed. You're crazy. You've always been jealous of me. That's what this is about. You can't stand that I had kids, that I had men who wanted me. Men who left you. I snapped. Men who left me to raise the children they never wanted. Derek slammed his fist on the counter, silencing us both. Enough. This isn't about you two. It's about the kids. And I don't care what your DNA says, Emily. They need stability. They need a real family. The way he said it, a real family, cut deeper than I expected. Because what he meant was, with Amanda, not with me. The days that followed were hell. The kids barely spoke to me. When they did, it was whispers, questions that made my chest ache. Why did you lie, Aunt Emily? Why does Mom say you're just jealous? Are you really our mom, or are you just trying to steal us? Amanda poisoned them faster than I could heal them. Every word she whispered, every lie she planted, spread like rot. And Derek? He moved into her apartment full-time. I'd see them together, her hand on his arm, his lips brushing her hair, and it made bile rise in my throat. The man who once swore he wasn't ready for a family now played house with my sister. With my children. I was losing everything. But I wasn't going to let them win. Not this time. One night, as I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by silence and old photographs, I made a decision. If the law wasn't on my side, I'd make sure public opinion was. Amanda had always been good at hiding her sins, her drinking, her vanishing acts, her parade of men. But I had years of evidence. Photos. Messages. Witnesses who had seen her stumble drunk out of bars while I was home with the kids. If she wanted to drag me through the mud in court, I'd bury her first. I spent hours scanning old receipts, saving screenshots, printing pictures. I reached out to Maria from the diner, to Mrs. Henderson from down the hall, to anyone who had ever seen me raising the kids while Amanda was gone. Piece by piece, I built my case. And then I found something I hadn't expected. Buried deep in Amanda's old phone records, calls to Derek. Not just recent ones. Calls going back years. Years. The betrayal hit me like a freight train. Derek hadn't just stumbled back into her life. He had been there. He had been with her, even while he was with me. The nausea rolled through me, hot and violent. My knees buckled, and I dropped the papers to the floor. The man I once thought I'd marry hadn't just broken my heart. He'd built an entire life with my sister behind my back. And suddenly, my revenge sharpened into something colder. Something merciless. I wasn't just fighting for the kids anymore. I was going to destroy them both. The first blow came a week later. I sent an anonymous tip to Child Protective Services. Not about myself, about Amanda. About the nights she left the kids alone. About the time she locked herself in a motel with a man while the kids went hungry. About the bar fights. Every word was true. Within days, a social worker was at her door. I watched from across the street as Amanda tried to smile, tried to play the role of the perfect mother. But the fear in her eyes told me everything. Derek looked rattled. For the first time, cracks were forming. And when the social worker left, Amanda turned on him, screaming so loudly the neighbors gathered outside. "You said this would work," she shrieked. "You said we'd take them from her, and she'd disappear. But now she's coming for us." I smiled from the shadows. For the first time in years, I felt power. But power is dangerous. Addictive. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered, heart pounding. A man's voice whispered on the other end. "You think you're clever, Emily. But Amanda isn't the only one with secrets." Derek told me everything. My breath caught. Who is this? The line went dead. And when I checked my front door an hour later, taped to it was an envelope. Inside, a single photo. Amanda,
Derek, and me.
Together, smiling, happy, from years ago. And scrawled across the bottom in red ink were the words, "If you want revenge, be ready to lose everything." The courtroom buzzed like a hive ready to sting. People craned their necks, whispering, pointing, waiting for the verdict. My palms were sweaty, my heart a drum that refused to quiet. After months of fighting, lying awake at night, dodging threats, and piecing together every document, I had finally dragged my sister into the light. Jessica sat across the room, swollen belly pressing against her tight black dress. She didn't look like the sister I once shared secrets with under the covers. She looked like a stranger, polished, smug, holding her lawyer's hand like she was untouchable. Her eyes darted to mine. She smirked, as if daring me to try and win. The judge cleared his throat. "We are here to determine guardianship of the minors and address allegations of fraud."
Fraud.
The word echoed like gunfire. I'd uncovered that Jessica had been forging my signature for years, siphoning government aid, stacking debts under my name, while tossing every responsibility onto me. I wasn't just raising her kids. I was paying for her sins. My attorney stood. "Your Honor, we present Exhibit C, financial statements directly tied to Jessica, showing forged signatures belonging to my client, Melissa Carter. These demonstrate deliberate fraud and abuse of her sister's trust." Gasps rippled across the room. Jessica's confident posture cracked. For the first time, she didn't look so sure of herself. I wanted to look away, to not enjoy the sight of her breaking, but I couldn't. Too many nights of tears, too many sacrifices, too many birthdays I missed because I was too busy working overtime to feed her children. This wasn't justice, just for me. This was for them. The judge turned to Jessica. "How do you respond to these allegations?" She leaned forward, voice trembling but sharp. "She's lying. Melissa has always been jealous of me. She wants my kids because she can't have her own. She's trying to ruin me." The words sliced deep. Infertility was my private wound, one I never shared with the world. But Jessica knew. She always knew where to cut deepest. I felt the courtroom's eyes burn into me. My throat tightened. Then I stood. "She's right about one thing," I said, voice shaking but steadying with every word. "I can't have children. And yes, I love those kids like they're mine. But jealousy?
No.
What I feel is exhaustion. Years of carrying a burden she created. Years of watching those kids cry themselves to sleep while she ran after new men. And now, after everything, she forged my name, destroyed my credit, and tried to trap me forever in her mess. Enough is enough." The silence was deafening. Even Jessica's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. The judge adjusted his glasses. "The evidence is clear. Guardianship of the minors is granted to Melissa Carter. Fraud charges against Jessica Carter will proceed to criminal trial." It was over. Jessica screamed, lunging toward me, her voice cracking into something feral. "You stole them from me. You'll pay for this, Melissa." Bailiffs pulled her back, her hair wild, her belly heavy with yet another child she didn't want. The kids were brought in after court. Little Tyler clung to my leg. Mia whispered, "Do we get to stay with you forever now?" I knelt down, tears spilling freely. "Yes, baby. Forever." It should have felt like victory. But as I hugged them, I felt the weight of what revenge costs. I had saved them, yes. But I had destroyed my sister in the process. Maybe she deserved it. Maybe she didn't. That night, when the house was quiet and the kids finally slept, I stood at the window, city lights blinking like restless stars. My phone buzzed, a blocked number. I answered. A familiar voice, cold and calm, slid through the line. "You think it's over, Melissa? You think you've won? That baby Jessica's carrying. You don't know the truth about the father."
Click.
The line went dead. And suddenly, the story wasn't over at all.